So we are recording. Hello everyone, I am Sarah Crimmens. I'm co-producer of Newcastle Startup Week, branding here. And I'm doing an interview from the comfort of my home office, as pretty much everyone's going to be doing at the moment because we can't go out and we can't be together, unfortunately, but thankfully we have the marvels of the internet. So I am sitting here today with Fiona Swinburne, Health and Wellness, and we're going to talk a little bit about loads of different things. I know Fiona really well, so we're just going to vibe off each other and see where we go. It's all going to be really juicy. You're going to get loads of value from it. Today is day one, which is inspiration, and I guarantee you will be inspired by the end of this this interview. So let's get started. Hello Fiona, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Sarah.
Oh, it's so nice to see you. It's so nice to connect with people, even if it is through a screen.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you, what your business is, where you are, who you are.
Okay, so I'm predominantly an acupuncturist, a traditional acupuncturist based in Jesmond. I run a private clinic seeing mostly general practice. I see everything from babies all the way up to old age pensioners. I work with all the things that people generally associate with acupuncture, which is pain. Pain relief is the main thing that we're known for, but I see so many different diverse range of conditions in my clinic. Predominantly, I'm working a lot with stress reduction and burnout with my clients. So that's a big feature for me. That's a big passion for me as well. So my practice is kind of evolving a little bit at the minute. It's becoming a little bit more based on health coaching clients, because what I find is that I'm working with people with acupuncture to help them with their conditions. I'm giving them all of the dietary advice they need in terms of gut health and healing. But then what people are left with lots of information, but they're not quite sure of the how to change their habits or mindset towards things. So that's what I'm going to focus on more going forward, helping people make that change, implement it into their life so that they don't just walk away from treatment and forget about what we've talked about and what they've learned, kind of drip feed so that they can make the changes they need to make.
Amazing. That sounds so cool, and it sounds so holistic, your approach as well. It's not just one thing or the other. Like, it's a very rounded view of all these different aspects of our lives. And what you're saying there, something that really stands out for me, is that it's about stress, really. That we're often finding that there's something not quite right within ourselves, whether it's physical or mental or emotional, and you have quite an interesting stance on that this all does actually come from stress, which I completely buy into as well. Do you want to say a little bit more about stress?
Yeah, I mean, evidence-based supports that behind every major chronic health condition is stress exists. Stress is probably known as one of the biggest killers now of our time. We've not evolved to live at the pace that we live at now. We're in constant, let's call it fight or flight mode. We're constantly on the treadmill. We're always on the go. We're constantly being bombarded with information. It's like we don't get a break from it. And as entrepreneurs, which obviously all of your delegates are going to be, this is particularly relevant. We are the classic driven, motivated, pushing, always trying to, do our best, keep going. And we're more likely to be, unfortunately, more susceptible to high levels of stress. Quite often people come to me and they'll say, I have a sore back, or I'm experiencing sciatica or headaches or whatever it might be. But when we go through the intake and we have a good chat about it and we really drill down to what's going on in that person's life, nearly always, I can probably, unless there's been a trauma, where they've had an accident or something obvious like that, nearly always we can always relate it back to stress. And if we can't do that, we notice that it is actually worse when they're stressed. So by relieving people's stress, it's probably one of the big impacts we can have. So that's a big focus in my practice, to try and help people to understand when they're stressed. A lot of people, aren't really aware of that. If I ask someone, how's your stress profile? They might say to me, fine. Yeah, I'm fine. And when I hear that, I just think, woo, woo, woo. You're just coping well. You might feel like you're coping well, but are you? I try and teach people to understand the cues from their body that they might be experiencing stress and how we can change that, more importantly.
And you've just touched on this as well. Is there risks to entrepreneurs specifically that you've identified or that you've worked with your clients
Yeah.
As you say, a lot of people here are entrepreneurs, and you're an entrepreneur yourself as well. I'd like to talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, are there any kind of specific risks to entrepreneurs that you've seen?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's some horrible statistic, like 72% of entrepreneurs will be suffering with mental health issues. That's huge, but it's probably not a surprise when you look at, when you kind of stand back and look at it, why that might be. You know, it will be because of our personality types. To be an entrepreneur, you have to be full on passionate about what you're doing. That takes a lot of drive, motivation, takes a lot of courage, takes a lot of, you know, an ability to keep going. You know, so it's really hard to tap into sometimes what might be a problem for you when you're in that mindset, and what might be developing in terms of stress. You know, working long hours, not taking breaks, not getting a rest, definitely suffering from I am the chief executive of the universe, not just my business, because, you know, we're doers. So I see that a lot. I mean, I work a lot with, yeah, like you say, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs at all levels, and you know, everyone's definitely trying to manage that. People are definitely not alone, and that's something I really love to teach my clients about. A lot of people feel, especially when they're achievers and entrepreneurs and aiming high all of the time, that it's somehow a failure if you're finding it hard. You know, if you're experiencing difficulties with that. But it's absolutely the norm. I mean, if I can do anything, I like to normalize this for people. You know, I've got personal experiences, you know, with going through quite a stressful experience myself lately. So, you know, there's always a stress, there's always a challenge. If it's not your business, it's your home life, your love life, you know, whatever it might be, all of the main areas in your life.
Completely. And I know that my experience is completely this as well. And burnout is something that I'm very passionate talking about because I've experienced it myself, and trauma as well. And you just mentioned, you just touched on there, you are, or you have been, you still are, I suppose, in a period of immense change and quite a lot of emotional upheaval as well, not just with COVID, which is happening now to everyone, but with you specifically picked up grief there. I was wondering if you're happy to share a little bit more about your experience, what you've noticed, how you've been coping with it, and how you've been working through it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I only came back to my business after a long gap off having children about a year and a half ago. And, you know, what an introduction or reintroduction back into running your own business. You know, it's just not stopped since I came back. I came back initially about a year and a half ago just to work part-time. I was doing 2 days a week with clients and I was happy with that. Then a month later, I realised I had to change my business from part-time to full-time because my whole financial situation completely changed at home, and which brought us a whole host of problems with it, personal problems and, you know, issues around all of that. And that wasn't a problem for me because, you know, building up my business with my background, I felt confident about that. So quickly I got a full-time clinic, really happy with that. And then found out that the clinic I was in was closing quite suddenly. So I had to move over Christmas. I then moved my business, got settled again. This was while managing 5 days a week with full clients, long days, and 2 children. So I was feeling the pressure, let's just say. Moved in July and then spent quite a lot of money in my new clinic to find out that it was then closing or moving away in 2 weeks. So that was a bit of a slap in the face again. Another challenge, you know, all these challenges keep coming. February, I got a break, had a nice month in February to settle in. March, the pandemic hits. And then with everything that brought, the financial worries, will my business survive? How am I going to make that work? Can I move my business online? How can I adapt my business to still earn an income when it's predominantly face-to-face treatments that I do? And then unfortunately, and very suddenly and tragically, my brother died in April. So yeah, the worst of them all, right? The real stuff. So I mean, I have to say, in all honesty, that's not been easy. I've been off the map for a few weeks, pretty much just dealing with how I'm going to navigate that. But thankfully, Sarah, I mean, this is where I think a lot of people doing the line of work that I do feel a lot of gratitude for what we do, because had I not gone through all of my training and my learnings and my self-development and things, I'm not quite sure where I would be right now in terms of my own mental health and physical health. So I just like instantly had to just draw on the knowledge that I've accrued over these years to get through this. And that is drawing on the wisdom of Chinese medicine. Chinese medicine in particular has one standout metaphor that always stays in my consciousness, and it is to be like water, always trying to go with the flow of what you're being presented with, because everything that's happened this last while to me, if I was trying to resist it and go against it, it would be like me swimming against the current of the water, not really getting anywhere, and it being much more painful. Whereas if I switch around and try to go with the flow, just trust that this is where my life's going, this is the challenges that I'm presented with. Well, what do I do? I mean, the challenge being, for example, say a massive rock in the river. You come to the rock, what are you going to do? If you use the wisdom of Chinese medicine and all of the teachings that I've been learning and I try to give to my clients, you see the rock, be like water and understand that you can go round the rock, over the rock. If you're really clever, you can go under it. And if you keep going in that direction, you can actually even get through the rock with a lot of perseverance and commitment. So there's many teachings that I find really have helped me through all of this. That's one that I keep coming back to all the time. But I mean, there's certain tips which we'll probably come to later that I think are really worthwhile for people to consider. But for me, I just go straight into, okay, the stress is up. I need to up my self-care massively to get through this. And that's exactly what I've done.
Oh, there's two things that thank you so much for sharing. I know it can be really tricky for some people to share these really deep emotions that are often seen as really negative, such as grief or anger or really deep sadness, despair, that kind of thing. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. You've touched on also these little, I love this metaphor of water, because I love all the ways that you've described it as well. But I also love the fact that water is so strong that it could actually move the rock. Like it could actually, as much as we can go, if we're like water, we can go over or around, or even maybe stop in front of it while we're figuring out how we're going to do something. When we, as a collective body of water, we can really move that rock out of the way. The power of the water is phenomenal when we channel it in the most appropriate way. So I love this. I mean, I love everything to do with elements. But this metaphor of water, I think, is a really, really strong one. So thank you for sharing that with us as well. You've said you've got a couple of tips in terms of I'm all about creating healthy habits. And I also want to say, we are talking about being healthy and using these modalities to create better lifestyles for ourselves. I know that I am by no means perfect in this. And that's kind of the point. No, we're never going to be perfect, are we? It's not about perfecting, like, I am going to get up at this time every day for the rest of my life. I am never going to feel any sadness because I meditate. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do yoga, all these things. It's not really about that, is it? And it's about having that knowledge and compassion of ourselves to know that there's days when we're not going to be like that, and also knowing that we've not always been like this, and that's okay. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that and see if you had any wisdom about not being perfect, not always being like this, going through different cycles of life. It sounds like even just that description you've given to us, you've been through many, many cycles of life, even in just the last year and a half. And then if we can move on to some of these tips for creating healthy habits, I'd love to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I definitely, along with, probably a lot of other people that work in my field as well, this is not, I'm not sitting here like Zen monk, it's been a process. Okay, so like 20 years ago, I was in corporate, dealing with, a large area to look after, dealing with high demands, high targets, big deadlines, all the stress that comes with that. If anyone who's done that knows, or is doing that, knows what it's like. Yeah, the pressure was high. And ultimately, I didn't manage that well. I was young. I was much younger. I was out partying, drinking to excess, smoking. Had a big smoking habit, a big love affair with smoking. I never cooked. Everything was either takeaway. I was on the move all the time, so I was even eating in McDonald's. I mean, I was like living that lifestyle for a long time. And I did burn out, truth be told. I really did hit the wall with it. You know, I look back now and I know it's because I wasn't looking after myself, but I also know it was because I wasn't living what I wanted to live. It wasn't really my purpose. It wasn't really, you know, my dream of what I wanted to do, really. It was all about the money. So, you know, I hit a wall, had a bit of a burnout myself, went off traveling for quite a lot of years. And that's how I discovered Chinese medicine, starting with meditation, then nutrition, then studied the degree in Chinese medicine, and then all the mindset work. And then it's like a layer and a layer and a layer. And, you know, someone said to me a while ago when I got quite, you know, fiery, because, you know, I'm a Celt, I can get fiery about something. They said, "Ooh, Fiona, I thought you meditated. It's not like you to, you know," and I was like, this is why I meditate. I know I need to do, you know, it's about just, I think it's about learning about yourself. And that's what I try to do with my clients. I try to get them to just tap into that knowing. Everybody I work with already knows what they need, right? It's just my job to help them, you know, understand what that might be. So, you know, someone's just come to my door. It's just distracted me. So yeah,
I've been waiting for this though, because I really want things like normal things to happen during interviews, and like we set everything up so that there's no children and there's no animals and there's no postman, but something always happens, and I just love that because it's real. Like this is real life. This is happening. We're not in some studio somewhere setting this up. Like this is actually, you know, life. So.
Exactly. I've like turned my doorbell off and they still keep banging on the door. Take a hint.
Yeah, about it not always being Zen, it not always being that Buddhist monk type modality. It's about reasons why we get into these things, and it's often like a maintenance or managing things so that we can actually live the happiest life that we want to. It's about what our needs and desires are, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just about tapping into that. And it's not, you know, in Chinese medicine, we talk all the time about, can you hear that? Balance and trying to get this balance. And of course we are, and it is really important that we kind of try and spin, you know, all of the key plates in our life to keep focus and keep attention on them. But people, again, will often say to me, you know, one day, Fiona, I'm going to come in here and you're going to tell me that I'm doing, you know, I'm completely on balance. My pulse is great. Everything's great. And I just say, no, you're not, you know, because we're dealing with real life. You know, we're constantly dealing with, life sends us challenges all the time. And if there's one thing we know about adulting, it's that. And if you run your own business, you probably know that more intimately than most people, because you're dealing with staff, you're dealing with multiple things. You're not just dealing with your own life. So it's just about trying to keep an awareness of, you know, for me, when I've been going through this hard time lately, instantly my brain just said, these children aren't taking the hint. Shall I tell them to go?
Don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah. So for me, I instantly start to think, I instantly go into this survival mode of what have I learned? What has my training taught me? And I just instantly think, what can I remove that I know is not going to help me? So for me, that's always alcohol. Alcohol, I just had to stay away from alcohol. It was not going to help me in how I was feeling. That was my number one. And then secondly, right, I need to up my self-care. So more frequent acupuncture, adding massage. Now, bear in mind, I've just gone from having one financial situation to a drastic opposite. You would think save your money, conserve your money, but I'm thinking, no. My money is going. I'm investing in my health. You know, for entrepreneurs, your health is your wealth. Hands down. No you, no business. You know, no you, no money. Yeah, we don't get sick pay, do we?
Nope.
So, no, this is an investment that people, I mean, the future is so clear. GPs, doctors, I'm training with a doctor at the minute, and she's moving away from Western medicine towards preventative medicine. You know, 80% of all chronic diseases are caused by lifestyle choices. 80% can be eradicated by making healthy changes to your lifestyle. That blows my mind. You know, preventative medicine is the future of medicine. That's lifestyle medicine, and that's what I do.
I love that. I love that. This statistic completely blows my mind, even though I know in the core of me that it's so true. A lot of people talk about inflammation, and I suppose what we're finding at the moment during COVID-19 is that a lot of the time when people are dying, there are underlying health issues, and a lot of these health issues, I'm not saying I'm no expert in this whatsoever, I'm just kind of stating what I have seen, what I'm noticing. A lot of these underlying health issues are due to inflammation in the body in some way, and inflammation can, end up giving you heart disease or kidney failure or whatever it is. There's a sliding scale of different diseases that you could get due to inflammation, and well, not just inflammation, many different things. But the stance that you come from is that there are all these different things that we can do which will help ease or help reduce the inflammation or eradicate the inflammation. And these things are not difficult, are they? This is where the healthy habits, the lifestyle piece comes in. And we're not saying lifestyle in a like, ooh, we're going to have a lifestyle business, or like we're going to be trendy and influencers on Instagram. This is the choices that you make in your everyday life that could make a huge difference to your overall health, which will then help boost your immune system, so that if anything else does come in, these viruses or whatever, then you're in a much better place your body's in a much better place to deal with them there and then, rather than you thinking, oh my goodness, something's here now crap, I need to like run and start doing, I'm going to drink loads of turmeric or whatever it is. Like, we're talking about implementing these healthy habits in advance, so we're being more like proactive rather than reactive. So like doing them beforehand, before the shit hits the fan, proverbially speaking. Like this is and this is what we're also saying is, because we very much sing from the same hymn book as far as I'm concerned, is these things are not difficult. They're very simple, but it can be a little bit more tricky implementing them because it's not necessarily easy. And I think we've both had experience of this when we've been implementing our healthy habits. But I'm wondering if you can speak some more to these healthy habits, and if you have any tips of us being able to implement these, or maybe recognize the habits that we do need to implement, like for the guys out there watching, for Newcastle Startup Week. Is there anything we can consider now in terms of little changes we can make? And I'm saying little, they might seem very small, but they'll have a huge impact on your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the thing is, these the changes don't have to be massive to have massive impact. And one of the main reasons for that is by taking little steps, it makes you feel much more in control. So at the minute, most of us are feeling quite out of control, right? We don't know what's coming next. We don't know what's happening with our businesses. Our finances are all over the place. We've got children at home whilst trying to run businesses. Maybe our partner's self-employed as well, same situation, whatever. There's 100 reasons why we're all dealing with stress at the minute. And one of the biggest things that I notice with stress is it comes down to quite often that feeling of being out of control. We can quite often feel like we have no control, and it's overwhelming. What makes that even more overwhelming is when we have every wellness guru on the planet telling us, go vegan, go raw, go paleo, do this, drink lots of water, don't drink too much water, conflicting advice everywhere. I mean, information is everywhere, right? We can get it just by quickly doing a quick Google. Anybody can do that, but it's hard to do that when you're already in overwhelm. You've got enough going on. So what I try to teach people is just to put little steps in place that will help you feel more in control, like you're behind the wheel again. Like, okay, right, a little bit of clarity, calm things down, and you can get a clearer view of the landscape of what you need to do. And it is never anything huge. I mean, the evidence base shows this as well. The statistics show, they're huge, the impact of lifestyle choices on our health. But the advice in itself is so simple. It's the things I'm not going to surprise you here. You're not going to go, oh, yes. It's the things that we all know. It's movement, 3.5 times a week. Move your body. Move that in any way, you know, that you enjoy, basically, I would say is the most important thing. Try and get your heart rate up if you can. But importantly, do something that you enjoy. Do it outdoors, bringing in the nature element, which is 100% going to increase serotonin levels and get all the good endorphins, you know, released just by the virtue of being outside. Being outside gives you a wonderful perspective. You know, you're not just in your little house, in your room, in front of your laptop. You know, when you get outside in the bigger landscape of things, especially if you're on a hill or something like that, it can give you a lovely perspective of, a feeling of space when you don't have space is a really powerful thing. So exercise outdoors is really powerful for that.
I think expansion for me comes into that, just that word expansion. Like, you can even, when I'm outside, and it helps with breathing as well, and like that's a big thing at the moment too, you know, getting enough air and enough oxygen in our lungs. When you're outside and you're in nature, it just feels much more expansive. I know when I've been like on a hike, I remember being at Rosebery Topping and just feeling like when I go for a walk by the beach, like I can see the big expanse of the sea there, and it feels so more, it can feel expansive physically in terms of being able to open my chest, but it feels expansive mentally as well, in terms of I can feel like I can see more opportunities, because my body and my mind and my heart and everything has a bit more space. So I love that you've spoken to that nature piece as well.
Yeah. And do you know what, Sarah? Do you know what's really amazing about all of these lifestyle tips, particularly at the minute during COVID? You don't really need to go anywhere. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to get anything from anywhere else, because it is actually all in you. I mean, you can experience the feeling of being in nature. If you don't believe me, you can try it after watching this. If you want to experience what it's like to feel in nature, if it has any impact on you at all, after this, make yourself a cup of coffee, tea, whatever is your preference. Go and sit on your back step. I don't care if you've just got a yard or a no yard, your front step, anywhere, just open your window, hang out of your window, hear the birds sing, feel the breeze against your face, hear the noises all around you of people's lives, daily lives going on, other things going on other than what's just in your head, and breathe the air that's out there. You know, watch butterflies and bumblebees fly around the flowers, whatever it might be. You don't even need to go anywhere. You don't need to rush off like I like to do, going off to the mountains. You don't need to do that. You can just sit in your garden, sit in your yard. And if you take yourself there mindfully, and really, you know, just sip your coffee and observe what's going on around you and not just thinking about what's in your mind, that can also give you that sense of being, like you discussed, like, you know, open, you know, place to breathe for a second.
I think this is really key as well. This is what I've actually learned during this time in COVID. I mean, I work from home anyway, so things haven't changed massively for me, apart from I'm hugely missing human contact. But I realized that I was really missing being able to go outside, because, you know, we're only meant to go outside once a day. So I was making the most of that, but I actually realized that I could go and sit on my back step, and I have a little, it's nothing fancy or big or anything, but I have back steps. I could sit on the step with exactly as you've described, with my cup of tea, maybe close my eyes, just let, we've had such nice weather, let the sun shine on my face, and I could, in my mind, I could take myself anywhere. I could take myself to a beach in Bali, I could take myself to Bangkok, I could take myself to top of a mountain in the Lake District, you know, like it's imagination, and everyone has that. Or you could take yourself to, you know, your favorite park down the street, you know, wherever it is that you feel really nourished, I find is a really wonderful thing to do. And I think the word that really came through to me when you were talking just then is presencing, and just getting into the present moment and using those 5 senses, or however many senses you want to use. Like, what can you smell? Like the other day I could smell cut grass, and I could even hear someone like mowing their lawn in the background. Or I can hear the birds. The bird song at the moment is absolutely beautiful. I know that we've had conversations about this, and I notice it every time I leave the house, whether that's they're singing louder or, you know, there's less aeroplanes. I don't know, but if you have your eyes open, what can you see? Like, what can you really see? Not just like, oh, I can see what I can see. Like, can I see a house? Can I see people? Whatever it is. Even like feeling at your fingertips, and when I'm in different places, I can feel different things. And I'm so lucky to live next to the coast. When I'm by the sea, I can taste the salt in the air. even. And it's that really helps you presence. And when you're present, you're not in the future, so you're not worrying about the future, and you're also not in the past, so you're not feeling guilty about what you have or you haven't done. So you can be purely joyful. You can be really, really happy because you're just in that moment. And this has been key for me as well when I felt my, over this time that we're in at the moment in lockdown, when I felt my anxiety going up, presencing has been the one thing that has really, really helped me, because it helps me ground back in. And as you say, get out of my head. I'm not in my head anymore when I'm just being present. I'm aware of all the other stuff around me, and it gives you, it's such a nice like reset. You can really hit the reset button with that, and like a reality check in a way. So I would, like you just said, I would invite everyone who's listening to this to just try. Like, I stick my head out the window as well when I've had flats without gardens. I just open the window, even like this window here, this is my office. If I've been working for a really long time, I'll open the window, just go take a couple of breaths and then go back in.
It just resets. Yeah, it just resets. And you said something there that I think is really powerful, Sarah, and this is something I hear a lot of people say, you know, I can't meditate, I can't do these things. And it's not really about the doing, it's just about the being. That sounds really, really hard. It's really simple, and it sounds really hard, but it's not. It's just really about allowing yourself. It's okay for me to rest, relax, place down my thoughts. I'll come back to them in a minute. You know, I'll come back to them when I'm ready. For now, I'm just sitting here drinking my tea or listening to a guided relaxation or meditation or whatever it might be that you're doing. But the point is that you're truly stepping into it. You know, it's the difference between coming and having acupuncture done to you and getting knowledge than actually coming, receiving the treatment, receiving the advice, carrying that feeling with you, making a conscious decision. I've just spent all this money to relax and calm down and be realigned with what I need to remember. And then consciously keeping that with you, not then just jumping straight back into your go-to stress mode. You know, you have a choice in that all the time. We always have a choice in how we react to the stimulus around us. So you do, whether you like it or not, you have a choice whether you jump to reaction and stress, or whether you choose to take a breath, take some time, and let things settle before you draw conclusions or anything like that. It takes time to get in that mindset, for sure. I struggled with that for years, I have to say, realizing that I had a choice and not just flying off the handle really quickly. Oh
yeah, that resonates strongly with me.
Yeah.
I have a fiery personality as well. I'm a very typical Aries, so, and I love my fire. I do not dislike my fire at all. It makes me passionate, it makes me driven. I love other people who are fiery as well. I think I naturally gravitate towards that. But with everything, there's always there's light and there's shade, and the shady part of fire is sometimes, for me, aggression or anger. And whereas anger is, I think, a very, very valuable emotion in itself, aggression, I don't want to tap into that very often, which is why I try to move that energy through me through another kind of modality, which I think you said, did you say you have 4 tips for us? And you've talked about movement. I mean, my way to kind of get rid of my aggression is probably through movement as well, actually. And it's like more aggressive movement. So I do CrossFit, or I've been kind of thinking about doing boxing and stuff like that kind of movement, or even dance actually helps me. If I put on like a really loud song, actually Miley Cyrus Wrecking Ball's a very good one for this, because you can throw yourself around. But yeah, I just want to get back, because I'm conscious of time, so I just want to get back to our tips that you're giving us. So I know movement was the first one, which I absolutely love, and you talked about nature, and we've gone all around.
Yeah, and that comes in lots of forms, right? But I think we touched a little bit as well, and probably another thing that I would say is really valuable is the taking yourself into it, the mindset. You know, I think it's well known now that meditation is, you know, well respected as a very valid form of stress reduction. You know, it's probably the most researched complementary therapy out there, meditation. And I know how scary that can seem to people to hear that word meditation. It's got lots of really negative connotations to it. It's only for hippies or whatever it might be. But actually, I mean, all of the main, I mean, many major CEOs in this world will cite meditation as one of their most important, valuable things to do. So I think it's really worthwhile exploring that. The way I explore that generally is by creating a routine around it. So I think routine would probably be my second top tip. This is another thing that can really help you feel in control. So all of these tips I think are really useful for helping you feel in control, because when you feel in control, you feel steadier, you feel more consciously aware, you're making your decisions from a strong, resilient place and not from a place of fear, which is never a good thing to do. So, routine can come in many forms. I would like to say, if there's any parents watching this, I feel your pain with this one. This is hard, okay? Setting routines when you've got little humans that, change when they get up in the morning or what they're doing, or will they give you time and peace to meditate, or will they? This can be a problem for people with parents. I'll write up a little bit more about this that you can share, because I have a lot to share on that, because I've had to struggle with that one myself. But this doesn't need to be this really big, long process in the morning. For me, I keep this really short and sweet. I am time short, okay? There's no other way of putting it. If I were to get up much earlier than my children to do things, I'd be up at 4 a.m. probably. I don't want to do that, okay? So for me, it's really a very simple meditation in the morning. It's always quick, 20 minutes. But if you're just starting out, start with 5 minutes. There's great ones on YouTube for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, build up to what feels nice, and just be open and just be still. That's enough to start with, and when you're exploring it. So meditation is key for me every day. It just calms me down, gets me, when I wake up, it just puts me in a place of, instead of jumping out of bed, what do I need to do? Okay, I've got this to do, that to do. It lets me step out of bed. Okay, I feel calmer. With that routine, I always do a little bit of setting intentions for the day. How do I want this day to go? And then I always have a real quick run through of what I have to do that day, just to keep me on target. So when I before I do anything else, that's all in my head about what I'm about to do. And then it's straight on with hydration, always after I sleep. First thing, hydration, before the coffee, before anything, as much as you want the coffee, replenish your body. And then breakfast, and then on with the day. A lot of people love to do their exercise in the morning. That's a really useful thing to do. I don't have time for that in the morning at the minute, or I don't make time for it, I should say. So I think routine's really key. Then in the evening, I have a routine as well, which I make more of a ritual around that, because I think when you're an entrepreneur and you're busy and you're running in your own business and you've been going all day long, finding it hard to get a break or a gap, in the evening, it can be hard to then decompress from that, wind down when your brain's full of ideas and going, or to-do lists or whatever. So in the evening, I make a very big hoo-ha of going to bed. I light my favorite candle. If I can get time, I'll go for a nice bath and a nice soak, just to really help get me ready for sleep. I used to have terrible issues with going to sleep at night, so I'm quite strict about my nighttime routine, and it never fails me. Have a nice bath, into bed. I always allow myself a scroll because I enjoy it. You shouldn't. Health experts everywhere would say not to do that, but I do it because I enjoy it. A little bit of a scroll.
Yeah, it's about, I think we've talked about this before, it's about not restricting yourself as well, isn't it? Like, you do need to make these healthy habits work. You need to acknowledge that you do have maybe some less than healthy habits that you think, well, I probably shouldn't do this, but it is bringing me some kind of joy. So actually integrating these in as well, and not giving myself a hard time about it, is actually really important. I think what you've touched on there as well, sleep, I found for me, I usually sleep really well. I've had bouts of not sleeping very well for different reasons, but I have had trouble getting myself to bed on time during COVID and lockdown, because it kind of feels like you don't need to be anywhere the next day. So it's like, oh, I can sleep in and it's fine. So there might be other people here who relate to that too. So perhaps just trying to implement a couple of little things to create a ritual out of going to bed, so it feels like you are really switching off. and letting your body go to sleep and rest, because that's how you then are able to carry on with doing whatever it is you want to do. Or if you're finding yourself that your business is changing and you don't know where it's going, giving your body the rest means that you'll have the space mentally to then figure out what it is you're going to do next as well. So it's not just to keep going with whatever you're doing, but if you're changing or just don't know what the hell is going on, then it's even more essential in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just getting that out of your head, even on a sheet of paper, is really powerful. I do that at night with my phone. I literally go in to-dos, tomorrow, this is my mind. It's out of my mind. And I actually say to myself, okay, you've done it. Tomorrow you come back to it. Now it's time to rest. And then instead of meditating at night, I like to do a guided relaxation. Again, there's lots of free stuff online. I can suggest some if anybody wants any. There's really lovely guided relaxation just to help you guide down into a nice peaceful sleep. You know, something, Sarah, I've noticed during COVID, wearables are really powerful. So this helps me stay more accountable to getting to bed on time. Because I love waking up in the morning and saying, 8 hours sleep. It's like a win before I even get going in the day. You know, it's like you know, it's good to track, because when you can see, I only got 5 hours sleep last night, that's not good. You know, we need about 8 hours sleep. That's when we do all the big renewing, regenerating, restoring, repairing, you know, resting. Everything that begins with we're doing when we're sleeping, and it's really fundamental for our health to get good rest.
Yeah, so important. It's the kind of the number one thing, which is why, in my experience, that's why when I haven't been sleeping well, I've made a real effort to try and get back into the habits again, like the healthy habit. And whether it's, for me, it was I need to journal before I go to sleep. So it, like you say, get the stuff out of my head that I might be thinking, I have to do this tomorrow, I need to do that tomorrow. Journal any feelings that I'm feeling, whatever. Make sure my calendar is sorted for the next day so I know what I'm doing as soon as I get up. Sometimes I don't adhere to that at all. Sometimes I sleep in, or sometimes I start my days differently, but that's okay. It just means it's out of your head, so you're giving yourself a chance to properly rest. And then what works for me is lavender oil behind my ears. That works for me. Might not work for everyone. I don't know, like sometimes it's even, some of my friends wear the wearables and they love them, but others don't like them because they kept waking up and not getting enough sleep, and they just felt like they were failing every morning. But for me, I was actually looking at an Apple Watch yesterday, and I'm actually really excited about getting one. So I think it'll help me in terms of my routines. But so that it was that number 2 in terms of your 4 points. So would we be able to move on to?
What have we done? We've done routine, self-care.
We've done
routine, movement,
yeah,
and self-care. I think so the final one, really, and I've said final, talking about it last because it's so obvious, is nutrition. You know, everyone, every health authority in the world, natural, medical, whatever, everyone agrees that nutrition is key for maintaining health and well-being. I mean, we know that, you know, to run at a high level, you know, have clear thinking, good clarity, focus, productivity, you need to feed your brain that nourishment so that it can work optimally. If you don't, you're just not giving yourself the best chance, and that's just for your brain. We're not talking about all of the other organs in your body that need support through nourishment. I mean, if you had a little plant, you wouldn't not water it. You wouldn't not occasionally give it a little bit of food. You know, you nourish that plant, you know. Yeah. So they're great. Nature, again, is great reminders of what we have to do, right, to look after ourselves. That's why I love using nature. I mean, in Chinese medicine, again, they've got a lovely metaphor of being like a tree. You know, if you are you look at a tree standing there, it's got really, really strong foundations and strong roots. It has that because it's well nourished from the soil. It's reaching up and getting light from the sun. It's got a nice, tough, strong exterior because it's built lovely resilience growing up. And if you are managing all of those foundations well, then if a storm comes, you might blow about a bit and a few leaves will fall off, and you'll think, shit, this is difficult, and blow around a bit. But if you're really truly supported and nourished and looking after yourself in the ways that we're talking about, then if the big storm comes, you'll do that, shake a little bit, but what you won't do is just break and fall. So, you know, it's so important to just look at all of these elements just for your foundational, just to build resilience, if nothing else. And then also you've got a little toolkit. That's kind of effectively what I had when the stress hit on me last year. I was like, right, toolkit out more than ever. What are the things that I need right now to help me get through this? Because this is hard. I'm having a hard time. I'm finding this hard. Grief is the best example of that. You know, if I let myself, I could really at the minute let grief swallow me up, quite frankly. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. For me, I want to feel the feels, go through it, you know, and just do what I need to do to stay well, and not feel overwhelmed by it.
Be like water.
Be like water.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's I love that you finished on nutrition there, and this foundational attitude that we can have, because as much as we are going through, everyone's going through something at the moment. We are, whether you want to believe it or not, and whether you see it this way, the world is experiencing collective trauma. Like this is, you know, this has never happened to us in our lifetime before, having a pandemic on this scale. So we're all going to be reacting in different ways. And I really do see this as, we have an opportunity here as well. We can build the foundation now. We can start now. We don't need to wait. We don't need to say, oh no, I haven't got these habits in place. I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna suffer as a result. I can't do it because we're in the crap now. We can start now. We can start with something really, really small, even if it is just like your invitation to stick your head out the window and have a cup of tea and just really be mindful of what's around you and presence, whatever it is, just these small things. Start eating, I don't know, like meat one day less a week. If you eat meat every day, maybe eat meat one day, 6 days a week rather than 7, or whatever it is that's going to help. If you need support, contact someone like yourself, like to help with acupuncture and health and wellness and all of the different holistic things that we can look at. But now is the time to start this stuff, and it doesn't need to be scary or big or monumental in scale. It can be one small thing, take that small step, move on to the next thing, take that small step, and just see where you can go from there, and ask for support as well. I found that for me, I can do so much myself, but I mean, I work with you and I absolutely love being a client of yours, because it's not just about going in and getting needled with acupuncture. It's the whole holistic side of everything. And we've worked very specifically on diet with me, and I found that really fucking hard like at times, but also so rewarding, because now I know when I'm feeding myself the right stuff, my whole body thanks me. Like everything about me thanks me when I feed myself organic vegetables rather than getting a Domino's stuffed crust. So I know how much this stuff works, and I know that you do as well from a personal point of view. And I think I just love that you've kind of finished on that metaphor of be like water, and these things are coming up, but I'm going to flow with them, and maybe take that pause where I'm waiting to see whether I'm going to go over the rock, or I'm going to go around it, or I'm going to move it with all these other people, because it's all possible. So I love what you've given us here. You've shared some really amazing stuff, and we'll definitely put one of those guided, if you're happy to, one of the guided meditations as a link in the comments below this, so that you can follow it if you like. Equally, if you don't want to do guided, then you can sit by yourself and do a little bit of a reset for yourself as well. But thank you so much, Fiona, for joining us. I'm wondering if there's one last thing you would like to share with us, either it's about your experience or something you just want to recap, or just something really short, something for the future, whatever it is. I'd love to hear, and then I will say thank you.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to remind everyone that you're not alone. Remember that you're not alone if you're feeling these feelings, because you really aren't, and many of us are going through it. And just help yourself. Start small. I mean, if nutrition seems really, really scary, just drink more water. For every coffee you drink a glass of water. Drink more water in general. For every glass of wine you drink a glass of water with it. Whatever it is, drink more water. And you know, just try to manage your blood sugar levels better. That's one of the biggest things I see with nutrition. It will improve your energy and everything no end, and your thinking capabilities. So you can do that. I'll put all of this in a handout that Sarah can share, hopefully, and with a bit more detail if you do want a bit more guidance. And yeah, just little steps, small changes can have massive impact.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the perfect, yeah, that's the perfect way to end it. Yep, small changes can have massive impact. So I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this. I just want to thank Fiona from the bottom of my heart. I've had such a lovely time interviewing you and just chatting with you, and I'm just really grateful that you have come on board and shared your wisdom with us, because there's a lot there, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks very much for having me, Sarah.
Brilliant, cool. See you guys in the next one. See you later.
Bye.